Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about this new record from the Weather Station entitled Humanhood that was released on January 17th. This is the 7th studio album for Tamara Lindemann under the moniker and her follow-up to 2022's How Is It That I Should Look at the Stars? It's a brilliant companion piece to 2021's Ignorance. Both these records saw Tamara and her band abandon their folk sound for a more expansive, improvisational, jazz-driven sound. And I love it. I love the artistic growth of this outfit and the direction that they've taken their music in. And this new record, Humanhood, really captures a more personal level from a lyrical standpoint on Tamara's end. The last two records, Ignorance and How Is It That I Should Look at the Stars, focused on climate change, the concerns that Tamara has for Mother Nature. And that's important. I think the pastoral in general is important to her body of work. This idea that nature and human beings, all creatures that are alive, have this synchronicity. There's this commonality, this unique universal spirit that combines us all, that makes us one with the earth. Call it hippie BS, call it what you will, but I'm a big believer in it, and I love the way that she explores it. This new record, Humanhood, however, I love that she is getting more personal, talking about how she lost herself in a lot of ways with her focus on that issue. And it happens to all of us. I think that's one of the things that makes this record so powerful. It's what's going to make it resonate with a lot of listeners, this idea of becoming so engrossed in something, so caught up in it, that you forget about your own well-being. You forget about the direction that you personally need to go in. So I think first and foremost, that's the big thing that makes this record so captivating, that idea of finding oneself again, the rediscovery that happens in that process too. I think her music is a reflection of that too. Tamara coming out of this rut, finding herself being probably a not completely different person, but different in a lot of ways. And the compositions, the improvisation, the direction of jazz, this new idea of Americana that's influencing her music is a reflection of that. And I think that's really important. Talking about nature, the pastoral. I love the idea of nocturnal imagery that's been associated with her new sound, these last three records. I think it's brilliant. I think more so than How Is It That I Should Look at the Stars? That's a record that we didn't have any percussion. Kieran Adams, not on that record. He's back on this record. I really love that. I think he's fantastic. Just the soft brush strokes, his technique, what he's bringing to the table to bring some form and structure to these compositions is magnificent. But I did like the formless nature of that record. And I love that she highlighted those tracks and put them out. I feel like oftentimes you get situations where a number of songs are developed for a project, certain ones won't fit in, and so they end up in a vault or they end up just locked away somewhere and they never see the light of day. So kudos to Tamara for putting out Ignorance. It's a beautiful record, and then taking the time to invest her efforts into these other songs because they are worthwhile and they are worth checking out and exploring. But I love the nocturnal. I love the idea of water. Water is something that, it signifies life. It signifies rebirth. There's so many different images that the idea of water can conjure up. And it's a beautiful sentiment in this music and in her approach to songwriting, to crafting her lyrics. I'm just a big fan of that. The comparisons to Joni Mitchell are pretty funny as well. When she starts to hit those high notes, I can definitely see those comparisons. But sonically, I'd say she's more like Tori Amos. I think with this expansive sound, oftentimes being piano driven, that's a big comparison for me that I see between the two. But I love the incorporation of the saxophone, the flute, the clarinet, the choice of instruments that she's using to, create these intricately layered arrangements it's just spot on. Like I wouldn't pick a different group of instruments to, bring together for this project. And some of the players on this record, Ben Whiteley on bass there, talked about Kieran Adams on drums, Karen Ing, another player that she's been in the studio with quite a bit, and then multi-instrumentalist Sam Amidon, Drew Jureka, I believe is how you say that, Joseph Shabason, another one. You can feel the energy on this record. I believe that this was just 2 sessions they recorded directly to tape, and the improvisation, the spirit of just feeling out what is happening in the room at that time and letting it guide the direction of the composition. That is something that is just pouring off this record, and it makes it worthwhile to revisit. This is an album that I'm so excited to listen to over and over again. Thematically, what Tamara is exploring from a personal standpoint, I think that the listener will continue to discover it's so many different ideas and so many different perspectives from what she's talking about. But I also think the sonic exploration, the different textures that unfold, the different instrumentation that'll pop up that you'll notice is going to make this project so much fun to listen to. And it's one of the things that's really going to make it a record of the year. I'll just say it. I think when it comes down to it, by the time December hits and lists start putting together, even in January where stuff is so easily forgotten, this is a record that it's just sunk its teeth into me. I just a couple listens and I'm bummed I have to go to work right now, because I would love nothing more than to just sit back and spin this thing a couple more times. It really is just, it's that majestic and it's that well done. Really, really a big fan of Tamara and the Weather Station and the direction that this band has moved in. Talking about the jazz element of these compositions, talking about that nocturnal kind of imagery, I think the jazz influence lends itself to that noir aesthetic. And I think that that's a big driving factor behind this record. The idea of understanding beauty, and oftentimes that understanding comes from experiencing the brutality and the ugliness of the world. It's the bad to see the good, right? But she explores it in such an eloquent fashion. It doesn't seem banal. It doesn't seem trite. It seems like that refreshing moment that all of us need from time to time to right the ship. And as I mentioned, that's what she's doing on this record, righting the ship, rediscovering herself, finding herself, and learning to care about her more. Descent is your opening track on this thing. You get these ominous synths that give way to playful wind instrumentation, sparse piano. This soft drum beat works in, and I love the way that it works. It just seamlessly works into Neon Signs. And talking about, focusing on oneself, self-care, and the idea of the pastoral. I love Neon Signs and the way that it opens up this record, this idea that the man-made material world is constantly bombarding us. We are constantly inundated with nonsense. And I want to open up this song rundown with these lyrics. I've gotten used to feeling like I'm crazy or just lazy. Why can't I get off this floor? Think straight anymore. Out on the street, I went walking in a punishing heat. Nobody meets my eyes except witty signs and luxury designs. I love the wordplay there. It just flows right off your tongue. But the imagery that she's conjuring up there, it feels like the futuristic world that you see like on film, especially through the 80s and 90s. Think of just like Back to the Future and just all the tall buildings and neon signs. Everything is just like coming down on you. Like that's the feeling that's created, this sense of impending doom from the man-made material world versus the beauty of nature. It's what I love about Tucson. It's not that big of a city. Like I'm looking out my window, looking at Mount Lemmon right now, wishing I was up there, wishing I didn't have to go to work. But it's one of my favorite things about this place, the access to nature, the escape from the man-made world. And I think that leading off this run of tracks with this particular song is just so well done, and I can't imagine any other way that she would have gotten into this. Mirror is your third track. I love the production on the piano intro. Just plays great in the headphones, is back and forth. It's really well done. A fine example of how Tamara, like she composes great songs, but when it comes down to the album making process, she's one of those artists that really goes into it just full on and gives it so much thought and so much contemplation. And it's one of the things that makes her one of my favorites these days. the idea of building a whole piece of art versus just stringing together songs. Um, the simple percussion and the bass complement on this song creates this subtly grim mood. Light piano melodies appear with the vocal to match, and I love the movement of the bass on this song and the way that it sort of trickles around the saxophone at times. Really a highlight for me. Window is your fourth track. Got these rolling drums, kind of a breakbeat element there, and dreamlike vocal melodies. These swirling wind instruments, they're just so captivating. I love their presence. The song mellows to highlight just the piano and the vocal element, but then that wind instrumentation is just going to continue to swirl in and out of this track, creating texture, intensifies, and then relaxes. It's really a fun, playful part of the song. Passage is your fifth track. Got this flickering electronic element that serves as an interlude into body moves. That is your sixth track. Got this vocal and drone-like synth, soft electronic percussion that works in with this smooth, gentle bass. Just a very ambient jazz feel to this song, excuse me. Great saxophone play on this number. Really enjoyed that element of the track. Leads into your seventh song, Ribbon. Got sparse piano with a gentle, comforting melody to open up this track. Vocal works in with soft percussive elements, and then you get the drums in for a bit of form. But I like the way that this song maintains a loose improvisational feel, like a lot of compositions on this album. It swells to a jam in the coda. It really is a fun turn that song takes. Fleuve is your eighth song. It's this great transition off piano from Ribbon. Got this twinkly piano that carries simple vocal interlude. And Fleuve, it's a breed of horse from Senegal, means big river. There's that reference to water again. It brings life. It brings revival. I love that element of her music. Humanhood, your title track, is your ninth song. Funky bells to open are going to usher in this gentle, smooth, driven jazz number. The piano is exquisite on this song. It plays with this recitative vocal, and the music creates this mood of wonder. I really feel like the emotions that are evoked from the music on this track are just brilliant. Really match the focus of this album and the title track. Brief saxophone solo in this song, followed by a wild banjo element. I mean, that just caught me completely off guard. It always reminds me of Like a Rolling Stone. If you listen to that Bob Dylan track, whoever's playing the tambourine on that song is just jamming out and having the time of their life. And I kind of felt like that's what whomever was playing the banjo on this song, they definitely were just tearing it up and having a good time. Irreversible Damage is your 10th track. Kind of feels like a song that would have been featured on the previous two projects, but I like combining those two elements and the way that she executes that. Got this hymn-like vocal element that opens up the track. It's driven by electronic percussion, loose piano and saxophone, recitative vocal that works in on this, and there's no denying the feel of early 2000s Radiohead on this track. I will just say it, and I don't think that I'm alone in that with all of you that get a chance to hear that. Speaking of lone, your 11th track is Lonely. Droning synth. It's I think it's actually pedal steel guitar that creates this texture. The drifting percussion. The piano is going to trickle in. It's got this like ambient folk build. And again, kind of feel like we're tapping into earlier days a little bit until that saxophone comes in and just evolves this track. It's heartbreaking though, the mood that develops. And it's just another perfect example of her really pairing the themes and the content of the lyrics in the song to what is going on sonically. Just brilliantly done. Aurora is your 12th track. Another one of these kind of like instrumental interludes. It's got this mysterious mood that develops around these droning synths, splash of piano, a little bit of flute, and it's going to lead right into Sewing, your final track. Is lyrically really well done. I love the simple drums, the minimal piano, and the vocal. The piano element continues to develop as the song does. Textures are going to work in. You get a little bit of this saxophone drive, and I love the breakdown. The saxophone's going to lead that, and then it builds to this intense drone-like texture, and then there's just silence. And then it comes back, kind of catches you off guard. You know, if you're not looking at how much time is left in the track, you're like, is it done? And then it comes right back with this delicate piano. The vocal element's amazing, and I just want to read some of the lines on this song to close things out. I don't know quite where to begin. I know it don't look like I'm doing anything. A mess of scraps, colors clash. I know I'm sewing together a day from these hours and the way you touched my hand just now. The things you say in blue, It don't look like much from here. There's no straight lines, nothing that clear. I love the idea of our lives being somewhat patchwork. There's ugly pieces, there's beautiful pieces, but they all come together in this uniform body to represent who we are. And I think it's just a beautiful analogy. And what I love about this song too is the way that all of this contemplation is left open-ended. Sometimes we go through meditation, we go through contemplation, and are still left with questions. We're still left wondering. Oftentimes, pondering things will leave us posing more questions than we come up with answers. And that's okay. Like, life is about discovery. It's about the exploration. If we had everything figured out, what would be the point? I would argue that there wouldn't be a point of waking up and getting up. And I think that that's the magic that this final track captures. And I love the way that she closes this thing. She says, tulips pushed over by rain. I'm trying to cook a meal. I'm hungry. I pull off the peel of whatever sweet thing I'm holding, sink my teeth into knowing it well. I'm walking from side to side. I'm taking pictures of the sky again. I don't know why. I guess I wanted to. And that is it. It leaves off that just a brilliant moment of leaving things open-ended, seeing what's going to happen with the next Weather Station record. I'm really excited, but I'm excited for all of you to check out this record. I'm going to give this thing an 8.7 out of 10. It is definitely bordering on that epic territory. This is an album that, even though it's coming out in January, I think come December, when people start putting their lists together, this is a collection of songs that will continue to resonate and will continue to tickle the minds of all of us critics and all of us listeners in general. This is a beautiful record. It's really well done. Excited to vinyl please it as well. Dip over to the record store and snag a copy after work. But I hope you enjoy this record. Hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2025. Tune into Classic Wax on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and check out the daily deep cut Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.